Follow me on Instagram at Boxingego1. The link is in the description. Please follow. We are almost to 50,000. Shout out to all the beautiful supporters. Engagement Ego is here. This is my era. We've been doing some serious numbers, people. So use the link in the description. Now, Bomac had some very interesting things to say regarding none other than baby, I know that Canelo Alvarez. So Bomac was training his fighter Tristan, and the media, there was a media scrum. They caught up with them. Basically, what Bomac suggested was that Terence Crawford would cook Chef Boyardee none other than Canelo Alvarez, right? He didn't use the word cook, but that's my slang. I'm from the Bay, you know what I mean? So that's what I would say. So what he did say, and we'll get to the direct quote, he basically said that even at 168, there's ways to deal with power, and Canelo doesn't have the height and reach to really with Errol Spence Jr. And therefore, he said that the fight would resemble Crawford's fight with Errol Spence Jr. Or I think I said that wrong. Canelo couldn't deal with Bud Crawford because of Bud is just, you know, too exceptional. And the fight would resemble Errol Spence. The direct quote is, Bud Crawford beats his ASS. Heel being Bud Crawford. Bud Crawford will outbox his Canelo Alvarez. That's who he's referring to. So let me read it again, and I'll just put the names in instead. Bud Crawford would beat Canelo's ass. Bud Crawford would outbox Canelo. Yeah, just outbox him in ish. Don't matter about the weight difference. Terence Crawford been fighting big people all his effing life. It would look like, or it would be like, Errol Spence versus Crawford 2 or 2.0. Wow. These are the words of Bomac. He's 100% in, 100% convinced that that's how the fight would play out with none other than Terence Crawford and Canelo. Now, my thing is this. I don't think the fight will happen. So this video is probably going to not be too long. Because, listen, one thing that I want y'all to realize and really respect in my craft and craftsmanship when it comes to this content creation is certain videos don't need to be too long. Like certain videos, if you're really cooking, they need to be a certain length. But there's so much content creation and it's just like a lot of filler. So I'm not going to spend hella time on this. I don't think the fight happens. And that's the main reason I'm not going to spend too much time on it, you know? But we got to bring boxing talk back to where it's supposed to be. Things like this, I feel like I can get the information out in under 10 minutes. So here we go. Don't think the fight will happen. Why do I think that? Canelo Alvarez said that there's no gain for him. And then the media scrum, the boxing reporters even asked Bomac about that. Hey, but Canelo said there's no gain for him. And then Bomac said, I respect that. I respect that. So he basically is saying, I understand where Canelo is coming from with that statement, because he said you'll look really bad if you lose to a smaller guy. So I don't think the fight happens because Canelo already suggested that. And we know Canelo is the A side and Canelo kind of calls the shots. So how can it happen when the main player in the A side is telling you it won't happen? So I don't really understand why Team Crawford is still referring to this. Maybe they're just trying to trash talk their way into, as Canelo would say, baby, you know, and trying to talk their way into a payday. They're looking for the biggest exit fights before Crawford retires. Canelo, they feel, is one of those. So maybe they're trying to bait him. But Canelo's not stupid. He's made so much money. He's about to fight a Mexican, first time probably since Julio Cesar Chavez Jr. And that's going to be a big fight. First fight with Canelo on Amazon Prime. First fight where Canelo's fighting a Mexican fighter in quite some time on pay-per-view. So I think that'll be a big fight. Canelo has so many options. Whether he fights him or not, he has a lot of options. You're the A side, people want to fight you. David Benavidez, David Morrell. I mean, the list goes on. Tim Tszú's probably even an option, right? Tim Tszú called out Canelo. So, and he's at least a little bit closer and done work at 54 versus Crawford, who is a welterweight. So that's just my thoughts on it. I'm not going to even really get too deep into it because I don't like to waste my time. I don't think Crawford gets the fight. It's kind of weird that they're still talking about the fight given what Canelo's already said. And then you're saying you respect what Canelo's saying, you understand it, which makes total sense. Canelo told you, and this is what Ego told you in past videos, the onus is on me. If I fight this guy who's 21 pounds, 21, can you do something for me? Right? 21 pounds underneath me. What's the real benefit for this? Now, I've seen, you know, some comments have said stuff like, oh, but you fought Amir Khan. That was in when? What year was that even in? 2015 or something? 2016? He did fight Khan, but he was in a completely different space then. You know what I mean? He hadn't fought, I want to say, was that before Triple G, right? Yeah, he hadn't even fought Triple G when he fought Amir Khan. You know, correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't think I'm wrong. Because I went to the Canelo Khan fight and I went to Canelo Triple G 1. And I'm pretty sure that's how it played out. So, you know, things change. And at the end of the day, he told you he's not going to fight you. It's just what it is. So, yeah, he did fight smaller people. Jose Cito Lopez brought him up. Brought Amir Khan. He's just at a different space of time. I mean, he even brought up Jermell Charlo more recently. But the thing is, he probably seen the feedback and like people really like, hey, we don't even give you credit for that. So, you know, fighting Crawford. Now, some people are going to say he's ducking and he's scared. I really, Canelo, through all his faults and bad decision making and stuff, it's hard for me to say he's a guy who's been fighting since age 15, is afraid of a person who is 21 pounds lighter than him, even though he's highly skilled. And we've seen him get hurt by Gamboas and Mean Machine. I can't really put that on Canelo and say he's like terrified. I think the risk factor is just, it's kind of foolish. You got, if Crawford, because Crawford is a special fighter. So if you let this guy move up 21 pounds and he's even winning rounds, that'll make you look bad and could potentially drop your stock, even if you knock him out. They're like, dang, Crawford was winning up until the knockout, you know, even if he knocked out Terence Crawford. So Canelo's right. There's really not much gain and upside. The real fight he should be fighting is David Benavidez, and I've always maintained that. So I'll keep this video shorter and wrap it up here. Let me know what you guys think. Bomac says it would look like Errol Spence 2.0. I have so many doubts about that, but I don't think the fight's going to happen, so I don't really have anything else to say.